Thank you.
Well, I think she said.
No, I didn't hear from Barry. I know he's having his email issues, but I emailed him back and never responded. He did stop
He
in.
stopped in. I just recently saw him.
I didn't see it.
No, he didn't respond or anything.
Who knows? If there's still.
Yeah, Tom was approved and I copied him or whatever.
Okay.
I just don't have a name black for him yet. So he can be prepared. And if not, you're still good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
By my word. I haven't talked to him more. Because I don't know if he wants to.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with the Planning Commission meeting for July 14th. If we can all rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before we get going too much, just be aware that the meeting is being live streamed and recorded. We're going to start with the approval of the minutes from the June 9th, 2026 meeting.
Mr. Chairman, it's public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Back up to that. All right, we're going to start with opening the floor for public comment on something other than what's on the agenda already. Yes.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Stephen Lyons. I'm the president for Save Forsyth Farm, a 501c3 non-for-profit organization which seeks for the preservation and historic commemoration of 905 West Town Road, a historic Quaker property dating back to 1818. I'll keep my comments brief. Our community, for some time, as you may be aware, is very concerned about the potential for the destruction of this historic asset based on a order issued by Judge Verway under the conservatorship process. We contest that the constraints of the original order only gave us 30 days to file through legal channels to become a party of interest, which has denied our community to have expert witnesses in historic preservation, engineers, historians, and environmental experts to weigh in. And my questions this evening are, number one, has a formal demolition permit been applied for by conservator Carl Ewald? Have there been any discussions or plans put forward yet? And then secondarily, we respectfully ask that this body consider a moratorium on any imminent demolition as our group seeks to acquire the property through grant fundraising and private donorship. This is history of national significance, and I'll pause my comments there.
Thank you. I do not, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not believe we have any say over demolition.
Planning Commission has no jurisdiction over demolition.
So there's nothing we can do in that aspect. In the sense of any other plans for anything being done there, nothing's been brought to our attention.
That's correct. There have been no applications that have been filed, and the Planning Commission has no jurisdiction over any demolition permits that are issued by the township.
Question, follow-up. Who issues the demolition permits? Who's under that auspices?
The Codes Department for the township. That's been explained numerous times.
Well, I'm going to have you clarify it multiple times until we understand the totality of the situation in which our group has been shut out of the process.
Steve, you had plenty of opportunity in which to seek to be a party of interest. You were denied 3 times.
30 days is unreasonable for this community to raise thousands of dollars to simply be party of interest to asbestos, black mold, environmental concerns.
Steve, you were denied 3 times by Judge Veerway. I sat in all of those hearings, Steve.
And we had to find a lawyer out of county because every lawyer in this county is deeply entrenched with development and real estate interests.
Steve, you were denied 3 times by Judge Veerway.
And we have a respectful difference of opinion on that issue.
Steve, you were denied 3 times by Judge Veerway.
And again, $500 an hour for a lawyer for this community. It's been here for 50 years.
Steve, you were denied 3 times by Judge Veerway.
I understand your point of view, Mr. Bayshore. Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay. Moving on to number 3, the approval of the minutes of the June 9th, 2026 meeting. Comments, questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Doug White. I had sent to the board, the members, some proposed changes based on, and additions based on the other recordings, and I would move to approve the minutes with those additions.
I would just raise objection to a couple of it. One, we can't go back to where you voted no and put comments as to why you voted no because you didn't state no.
That's true.
So we can't do that.
But it was discussed, I would just like that little summary added. That's all.
Right, that was discussed up in the upper part of that minutes. It said there was discussion regarding concerns or whatever. But I can't go back and add things that weren't discussed. That's my concern.
Well, that was discussed as per the audio recording, just a brief 2-sentence statement, 3 sentences. That's it. Just
Okay.
that was said.
The other aspect is, I understand you're asking for a lot of these things to be commented with names.
Yes.
And again, this is my viewpoint. I'm open to everyone else expressing that. Based on the stuff, again, that you sent out about the Sunshine Act, there are key things in there that, one, we shouldn't be quoting individuals on this commission and saying this, this, and this, because we're not sitting here with a transcript or everything else. We're not having it transcribed.
Okay, the Sunshine Act information was separate. That was,
But that outlines exactly how meeting minutes should be taken.
right, but individuals' names
So
who
on
said,
that, it basically,
should be
the Sunshine
said.
Act requires that minutes include the date, time, and place of the meeting, names of the members present, the substance of all official acts. Township should be careful not to get into the habit of quoting individuals or including a level of detail that can only be captured through transcriptions. What we're capturing is the essence of what we talked about
Right.
in each of these discussions. We're not getting, like we've talked about at other meetings, we're not getting into every single
That's
detail.
right.
We're capturing what was discussed
Right.
about this thing.
But there could be confusion if a statement was made and there was no reference to a person who made it.
how's there confusion? I
It
don't
could just
understand.
be, it could be construed as coming from the secretary. So it's appropriate that.
When it says that discussion was done on X, I don't have it in front of me to point out the,
For example, in item 8, question about a tree replacement, it should say Douglas White asked the question, just put my name, and then Chris Bayshore gave a response, a discussion. That's it. So
I'm
so
open
it's
to
clear.
other comments, anybody else's? I don't want it just to be mine.
Now, this shouldn't be long. It's very simple.
Well, it gets to be long when you're tagging that on, like you've sent a 2-page thing.
No,
or
it's just one page.
stating all the areas that you want to change in that.
It's
And
not
that does get, again, my opinion, I'm open to,
Okay.
if the rest of the panel thinks we should do that, then that's fine. But I'm open to other thoughts or suggestions. I personally object to that, I think it's too much, but.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I agree with you. I think this is kind of a minuscule thing in particular, and this might open up, we might go down the road that we don't know, so it would open up a precedent perhaps.
Okay, thank you. Other comments, questions?
I would agree with you. I don't think we need to get into that, the new detail.
So,
I think general.
so you want to deny all of my suggestions?
Well, if you're making a motion, then
To
one,
approve.
if you made the motion, I would ask for a second. And upon that, I'll ask for a vote. Remember that.
And I think we agreed last month that if we made a reference that if anybody wanted to see additional details, they could go to the resources, the videotape.
Right.
But that's not official.
No, it doesn't have to be official. What's official is just doing the summary of what, capturing what was talked about.
Right, and there were things that just were omitted, as far as my comment about
Are you making the motion to accept the minutes with these changes?
I make a motion to accept the minutes with my submitted additions and changes.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second to get to the room.
Okay. Having a second, I guess any public comment? Okay, all in favor, say aye. I have two,
I with the changes.
with the changes, that's your motion.
That's my motion with the
Yes.
changes. Aye.
Okay, so we have 3, all opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4,
Do you
5.
need to change it for the entirety, like moving forward, that we will be all
No, I'm just saying what he submitted here.
Which is, we already approved the motions with changes at the last meeting, if I'm correct. And this is something in addition to that that he wants changed.
So this is addressing the June meeting, yes.
The June, different meeting. June meeting.
So the last one was addressing that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 against 3, 4. So motion does not pass. I'll make the motion to accept the minutes as is. Second. Any public comment? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No reasonable and accurate additions denied.
Okay. I'm sorry, John, are you yea or nay?
Nay.
Nay, 2 now. Okay. Next item is initial Saldo application, preliminary land development plan for 300 Snyder Ave.
Mr. Chairman, we do have, I'll give a brief introduction. We do have representatives from the applicant here this evening, as well as Sean Daniels from Carroll Engineering. So before the Planning Commission this evening is an initial submission for preliminary final land development plan for property 300 Snyder Avenue. The applicants, Richard and Emma Smith, are proposing to construct a new parking area for construction equipment and associated stormwater management facilities at the property. No buildings are proposed for this application. The applicant previously received variances from the zoning hearing board from sections 8454E1 and 8454 F1 of the zoning ordinance, and we provided a copy of that decision to the Planning Commission. The property is I-2 zoning district. I'll bring the plans up momentarily, but reviewing the nature of the application, as there's no buildings involved, and based on a preliminary review done by Mr. Daniels, we believe that the Planning Commission should consider recommending a waiver of land development for this project, subject to certain conditions. And again, I've provided the comments from Mr. Daniels based on his initial review and three suggested conditions that he has. So let me bring the plans up for this project. And with that, this is Tyler from Howell Engineering, who's here representing the applicant.
Good evening.
And Tyler, just let me know what page is on here.
Sure, if you want to go to the next sheet, this is the site plan. So, as Chris mentioned, this site's located at 300 Snyder Avenue. It's located across the street from the Westchester Fire Training Center and just up the hill from the Q Smart self-storage facility. And it's across the street from our client's paving company. So they would develop this currently vacant lot into a parking area for construction equipment to support their business. The site would have underground stormwater management. There's a small retaining wall proposed on the left-hand side. That's to limit the steep slope disturbance, which is what the variances that were received were in relation to. The site would also have minimal site lighting just for safety, and there'd be water connections just for cleaning the equipment. The stormwater management, like I said, is completely underground, and it would drain to the bottom right-hand site, meeting all the requirements of the stormwater management.
Okay, questions, comments? One I have is a stormwater, maybe Chris, you guys, I assume you're gonna have construction vehicles there, so you're gonna have oil, things like that getting washed into the stormwater?
Chris, if you could advance to sheet 5. So, yep, that works. So as you can see here, so to answer your question, this shape here, the dashed line, is the underwater stormwater basin, stormwater infiltration bed. There's 3 inlets that would collect runoff into the bed. Each of those inlets would have a water quality filter to prevent sediment and oil and other debris from getting into the underground bed itself. And then that would be part of just normal maintenance being cleaned out for the site. That's part of the stormwater management.
Not to put him on the spot, but Sean, do you have any comments on just your preliminary review of the stormwater management system for this project?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward system. Like Tyler said, you know, with the oil and anything like that that you have from these constructed vehicles, you would have the appropriate water quality filters on there. And, you know, what they're proposing is pretty standard. I didn't do a full review on it, obviously, yet, but at the time, I don't have any objections to what they are proposing.
Okay.
Just kind of to piggyback what he's saying about the collection of the oils and other, you know, unsuitable soil matter. When you say there is like just general maintenance, who controls that? Is there some type of maintenance agreement? Does the township check that type of thing?
So they will have to enter into what's called a stormwater management stormwater best management practices agreement that gets recorded with the county. Especially, it spells out the inspection schedule, maintenance responsibilities, and things of that nature. And a copy of the plan gets attached to it.
Okay.
So that runs.
So there is oversight.
Yes, and that runs with the land. So any future owners, if for example they were to sell the property, would be bound to those provisions.
Okay, good.
There's a lot of trees on the property right now. What's your intention? I mean,
Yep, so, sorry, Chris.
No,
If you can jump back a couple sheets to sheet number 3, the existing conditions plan. So, yes, to answer your question, one of the advantages of what we're proposing, there's currently a clearing, a good-sized clearing on the property from previous development, probably a long time ago. So we're minimizing the amount of tree disturbance absolutely necessary just to build the parking lot itself. Everything in the steep slope area, which is what's shaded here, down to the bottom left and around the entire bottom and up on the right-hand side, would remain the current wooded area.
so how many trees do you think we have to cut down?
We have Sorry, Chris. Again, if you could go to the last sheet, the plan set, we did do a tree replacement, tree survey and a tree replacement plan.
Just tell me when to stop.
We run out of sheets. Here we go. If those numbers were legible, they would answer your
Looks like
My vision doesn't quite that good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm closer.
It
and mine
looks
is-
like they are proposing to add 7. So that's,
I apologize for that.
yeah, unfortunately, I don't know how to zoom in. I don't know how to zoom in full screen.
So we looked at the tree replacement ordinance. Like I said, we did a tree survey, the half inch is being removed, and we're proposing the replacement trees to meet that requirement.
So you're addressing.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And they'll be planted, as you can see on the top, around the perimeter of the property. Again, to provide a little bit of additional buffer.
I don't think you have any neighbors really, do you?
No, like I said, down the hill is the Keep Smart self-storage facility. Across the street, directly across the street, these are our clients' paving business and the Westchester Fire Training Center. So,
And to up Snyder Avenue is just
I believe it's
to the east?
to the east is the wastewater treatment plant, and to the west, I believe, is another commercial property.
So to answer the earlier question about trees, it looks like they're planting 54 trees between shade trees, evergreen, and flowering, and then 28 shrubs.
How many are being removed?
Where is that on the sheet, Tyler?
It should be maybe bottom left. This channel.
Because I do see on here where it says there's TBD to be determined, and then there's an existing wooded area remaining. But I don't see anything about the number that are being removed.
I would have to get the exact number.
Do you have a sheet that has the conservation plan and the trees mapped out with the X's on them?
Of the trees being removed, the individual
Yes,
trees being removed?
usually there's a conservation plan.
On our existing conditions plan, sheet number 3, that's where we show the trees that are being removed. And the trees that have been surveyed are identified on that plan.
Is it sheet number 3 though?
Yep, right here. So we do identify the size of the trees, the individual trees, and then we calculate it for the remaining trees, the area being removed and the replacement trees being proposed. So to answer the specific question, I'd have to look and see where we call out the specific number of trees being removed.
You're not putting any lighting or anything on?
Minimal sight lighting, just for safety and security of the equipment itself. But it wouldn't be lit up like a football field or anything like that.
Other questions? Any public comments, questions? Okay, so you're saying we're being asked about a waiver?
Well, that's what the staff is thinking, given the fact that there's no buildings proposed with this project. It sounds to me, like just reviewing the information from Sean, that a lot of that material can be handled through a grading and ENS permit. And Sean has recommended a couple of conditions for consideration. The planning commission is inclined, for them to execute an agreement to establish escrow to cover the review fees for Carroll Engineering's office to complete the review, comply with any applicable regulations, and continue submitting plans, and post financial security for any improvements. But given the nature of this application, it's a parking lot for staging equipment, the issue is in our definition of land development, it's an improvement, so it would be considered and it would be subject to land development provisions, but it's relatively minimal because there's no building construction, because it was paving an area.
Okay. Thoughts?
It's ultimately up to the board of supervisors.
All right, so we would make a motion to
If you want to, if the
recommend.
planning commission was inclined to recommend it, you could do that subject to I would make it subject to the recommended conditions based on the review from the township engineer, dated July 7th.
Anyone feel comfortable making that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, John, second it?
And what the motion is to recommend,
The waiver, recommended to supervisors issuing the waiver for,
Waiver of land development subject to the
Subject.
recommendations of the township.
I may ask one additional question,
Uh-huh.
please?
Chris, are there specific criteria for these waivers in our code, or is it just subjective? I mean, is it traditional that when no building is involved, no structure, that there's no land development?
It depends on the nature of the application. We've issued waivers of land development for building bump outs for commercial properties, which would technically be subject to land development. So it's kind of subjective, but it's also depending on the nature of the application.
So you have stormwater, you have lighting,
Yes.
you have grading,
Yes.
you have retaining walls.
One.
He's subject to all the provisions related to grading, relating to the zoning ordinance. Would still be subject to all those provisions. It would still go through review by our engineer.
And the township considers this to be an improvement to the existing condition of law, so
Yeah.
it's beneficial to the township.
My opinion is that they go through land development.
okay. Well, right now we have a motion and a second. So, any public comment on that? Okay. All in favor of that motion? Aye. All opposed?
No reason, due to the stormwater and grading, I believe that there should be a land development.
Okay. 8-1. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tyler will present this to the board at their meeting on August 4th, and it's ultimately up to their decision. But we would just ask that you agree that the 90-day review clock not start till after that decision is made. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. If you could send me an email, that'd be awesome. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next, Solville applications, preliminary final land development plan for Westchester Kia. Applicant is proposing to consolidate 3 existing parcels into a single lot totaling 4.54 acres.
So we do have representatives from the Westchester here, Gina Gerber and Joe Rosella. Are there any other representatives this evening?
Oh, and Frank Sedon.
Okay, and their traffic engineer as well. And we do have review comments from both the township engineer, and Mr. Daniels is here to answer any questions that the planning commission may have, as well as comments from McCormick Taylor, the township traffic engineer. I did confirm with Mr. Parker that he had no outstanding issues, and the applicant did provide letters in response to all the review comments, which I did submit to the planning commission. We also have a review letter from HRG. I did speak to HRG, and they confirmed that there are no planning related comments. The final comments can be addressed as part of the financial security of the project.
Mr. Bayshore. Good evening, my name is Gina Gerber. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, which is Westchester Kia. So this is a operating dealership that's already at 328 West Town Road. This project is intended to expand the existing dealership to 2 other properties within the township and create sort of a vehicle sales and service campus. So this project is located at the intersection of East Neal Street and West Town Road. You all have seen this project a few times, so I'm not going to bore you with too much detail. But we are here this evening looking for a recommendation on a preliminary final land development application. So this project has gone through zoning approval. This project has gone through conditional use. And so now we're here at the final stage to actually get the project underway. So we are proposing to consolidate 3 properties, the existing dealership at 328 West Town Road, as well as 721 East Neal Street and 738 East Neal Street. These properties are all abutting. properties. As you may know, there is a former veterinary facility at the corner of Westtown Road and East Mill Street. My client is proposing to keep that building, do a very small, approximately 550 square foot addition to that building, just kind of square on the corner. The intention is to utilize that building for offices related to the vehicle sales and service. There is an additional building to the rear of the site that is currently a flex building, garage type of a facility. That building is going to be demolished and replaced with a very similarly sized building that will eventually be used for vehicle repairs. So the vehicle sales use will be focused primarily in the building that's already existing at 328 Westtown Road. These new buildings are going to be utilized for purposes of administrative and repair work on the site. You will see, Chris, if you don't mind going to the second page of the plan. So this is our site plan. What you'll see is there's a great deal of parking on this site, and the purposes of that is more than 75% of what you're seeing here is going to be vehicle inventory parking. There's a good portion of the site where we are utilizing porous pavement in order to reduce the amount of impervious on the site. So although vehicles will be parked on it, it is a porous pavement surface. We are proposing sidewalks on both Westtown Road and East Mill Street as part of this project. And the landscaping plan is even exceeding what the township requirements are for this particular site. So overall, I think Howell Engineering is doing a great job of designing this site to make sure we are meeting almost all of the township ordinances. As indicated, we did get zoning relief. That zoning relief is with respect to the total green area on the site. Although we are not exceeding the impervious pavement minimums and maximums on here, we are not complying with the green area requirements. So that is something that we did seek and receive relief for from the zoning hearing board. And that other relief is related to the location of the building that's kind of shaded in red on the left-hand side of the plan that you're looking at. So that building is the new building that's going to replace the existing garage building that is currently there. Although we are improving the setback of what that existing building is from the property lines, we are not fully compliant with what the ordinance requires. And again, we've received zoning relief in order to permit that building to be located where it is proposed. Before I hand this over to Mr. Rosello, there were a couple of items in the review letter I just wanted to bring to your attention. Dr. Lloyd, I would highlight the fact that at your suggestion, there are now bollards proposed between the employee parking area and the service building that is in the rear of the property in order to provide some additional protection for the folks that are working inside that building. So without further ado, Joe Rosello.
Thank you. Yeah, as Gina mentioned, we worked extensively through the development of the plan with township consultants to resolve the outstanding comments in the review letter. We had a review letter from the township engineer, which is dated June 30th, and one July 6th from the traffic engineer. The comments that were contained, the remaining comments, were all well-complied comments, and they were addressed with our response letter and resubmitted back to the township. Chris has them at his desk now. We've worked with part of our conditional use requirements were that there wasn't any water in East Neal Street, so we extended a water main, and part of the conditional use was also to provide the adjoining property owned by Cordo Real Estate with public water. There was also, as you recall, part is through the development of the plant. There were numerous driveways, 3 of them along East Neal Street, which were removed to create one driveway that comes into the site. The comment that the one comment that I wanted to address was a comment in the traffic engineer letter was that previously we were providing a loading space that was generally in this location, and the loading space was for the unloading of delivery vehicles, which the area that encompasses or surrounds that are all inventory vehicles. The traffic engineer's suggestion was where we had a striped area at the end of the vehicle inventory area, similar to the one at the top, to make that wider so that the truck could stage there rather than be in the aisle. Even though the rear of the site is really exclusively for employees and vehicles, nobody goes back there, and no visitors, no customers, but just felt that that was a more appropriate way to address that condition. So on the revised plan, which you see here, that's how we address that. One of the other comments in the review letter had to do with the EV parking standards. And the township engineer in his review asked that we provide justification for that, which we provided a letter to that effect to address those standards. And part of the review of the township engineer, they were basing the EV charging station requirement on the total parking. Well, the total parking for the site, there are 225 spaces. That would result in 23 EV stations. However, the 225 spaces are primarily for the inventory, and there is a very few spaces that are available to the visitors, which are in front of the existing facility, and then the employees. The customers that bring their vehicles in that have electric vehicles are being recharged by the electric vehicle charging stations that are inside the existing building and that will be inside of the proposed building. So I provided an explanation that basically says that at the end of the development, there will be the capacity to provide 12 charging opportunities, 8 of which are inside of the building and 4 which are currently there outside of the building for any visitors to the site and or employees. So we feel that the 12 stations satisfy the intent and spirit of the ordinance for the EV opportunity.
The charging stations inside, are they just a wall outlet or an actual one of these fancy class 2 things with that high current?
What Jim Sapala had told me is that they are we'll use the term here, a level 2 EV charging station.
Inside?
Inside, yes.
And that's where the vehicles being serviced?
That's correct, yes. So
Okay.
the customer vehicles that have electric would be hooked up to them while they're being worked on. They're waiting in the waiting room while their car's being serviced.
But they're not for public use, or for inside?
They're for that particular customer. Now, there are the 4 existing level 2 charging stations that are already there that are available, not for the public that's just coming in, but for a customer.
Just for your customers, that's right. So it's not a public accommodation?
It's not a public accommodation.
Okay, that's reasonable. That's okay.
Okay. The remaining comments in the letter will comply in the sense that they were just house cleaning items pertaining to some details and things of that nature. But we feel that from a planning standpoint, as we indicated, and that our longevity through the development of the site and the project, that we've addressed all the planning concerns that the Planning Commission has had through our earlier presentations, as well as the Board of Supervisors. So from that, I'm happy to answer any additional outstanding questions or that the board or the audience may have.
And just let me get a clarification on the EV charging station. Now, currently you're talking about there's 12 level 2 charging stations inside of the main building. Is that currently the case?
No, there are 4 in the existing dealership. There are 4 outside exterior, and then there's going to
Four
be
outside are actually level 3s, but that's okay. So there's 4 inside of the building that are level 2?
inside.
And you're saying you're going to add 8 more?
And we're going to add 4 more for a total of 12. So 4, 3, 12.
Are there any EV charging stations planned for the new building that you're thinking of?
No, just inside for the customers that would have EV vehicles. Any of the employees that had EV vehicles would utilize the 4 exterior charging stations.
Make sure you're not planning on any additional charges inside of the new building at this time.
Inside, yes, but not outside.
That's what I mean, okay.
Yes.
So there's, let me make sure I understand. You're talking about, there's 4 outside, we know that, there's a level 3, and they're existing.
Right.
In the current building now, there's 4 charging, okay.
Yes.
And there's a level 2.
Yes.
And you're gonna be adding how many more?
4.
4 more. And where would they be located?
Inside of the shop building.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
So the ordinance does give the board of supervisors discretion to approve a variation on the number of EV chargers that are being proposed for the project. So that is why Mr. Rosello went through that this evening, so you all understand we are providing 12 in totality on the site. The reason that we are not complying with the ordinance is because the majority of the parking on this site is not customer parking or public parking. It's storage parking.
Storage.
Exactly. The only other waiver that's requested with this plan is administrative. It's just to allow us to go forward with a preliminary and final combined review and approval rather than doing them in separate stages. Since this project has gone through so many levels of review at this point, we thought that would be appropriate. Yes, Mr.
Joe, what's your name again?
Joseph Rosello, R-U-S-S-E-L-L-A.
Joseph Rosello.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we do have our traffic engineer this evening, Frank Giovanni. He's done a great job working with the Concord to address all of the traffic-related comments. As Mr. Bajor indicated, Mr. Concord doesn't have any outstanding comments that have not been addressed. But obviously, if you all have questions or concerns, he's available this evening to address them.
Any?
What's the adjacent use in that top left, that large lot apparently?
Right here?
No, it's blank.
Oh.
Adjacent use, not yours.
Oh, sorry.
Who's in there, or what's going on in there?
It's Curtis.
So Curdos is immediately adjacent to the, what is that, southwest.
Southwest.
And then to the northwest, there is a different use, which is, I want to say, kind of like a storage contractor.
It's a
yard.
contractor.
Yeah.
And
So
this
there's-
is and that's the yard, the equipment yard for Best Lines, equipment people. Curdo, I think, does some level of repair, and the business to the north is, I want to say it's a heating or
Okay, I just wanted that, I mean, where you're not doing the full setback. What's the hardship that you don't want to?
With all due respect, we've kind of gone through the zoning hearing board already.
Okay.
We can recap the testimony, but
And
I don't think
they're
you
okay
want to
with
sit
it.
through it.
You don't need to get into
A
it.
copy
They're
of
okay with it.
a copy of the decision was provided to the planning commission.
Suffice it to say is we're actually improving on the existing conditions that are there today.
I think the existing building was non-conforming as itself, and so that building's a smaller footprint,
Yeah.
but it's still, by the numbers, not quite, so for that, they're requesting.
Yeah.
So since he's present, does the planning commission have any questions for Mr. Daniels on the application?
Any questions?
You're happy with the stormwater
Yeah.
situation, because this is pretty much, there's a lot of impervious surface.
Yeah, and they also, as part of this application, because of the size of the disturbance, need to get approval from the Conservation District, who's also reviewing the stormwater. And at this time, we have no more stormwater comments. Everything left in our letter is more administrative and semantic.
So just so the planning commission is aware, it's Sean's reference to the conservation district, anything that requires, that has, any project that has disturbance over 1 acre requires an NPDES permit and approval from the conservation district.
I have one question. Yeah, with the new administrative building, what's the anticipation of how many employees and potential of having an EV car as well that may need to park on the very north of the campus and then have to walk down? Is there any?
So the repurposing of that building, I think, is anticipated to be housing folks that are actually already operating at 328 West Town Road. I don't think that Mr. Zapala is anticipating a large amount of new hires with respect to this. I think it's just redistributing and using spaces a little bit more wisely across the site. So I would anticipate that those folks that would need an EV charger are already going to be used to using on the other side of the site and probably would plan accordingly. Also, I would bet probably employees need to. No shortage of cars on site.
Right. This is just a business question. You sell EVs, do you not? You sell electric vehicles, Kia makes them?
They do, yes.
Like a Range Rover?
Also call it as sell electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Which is why we have, what's that?
I bought one from there.
Is it happiness?
I'm very happy.
I will let Mr. Zapapa know. But yes, the intention is when folks are coming to the site and they're having their vehicle serviced, and they're those EV charged vehicles, they're being charged while they're being serviced in the interior of the site. So thus, the four existing interior in the building at 320 West Town Road, and then the four new EV chargers that are going to be within the building for service at the new site.
I just think because of, I would think you would want to put more EV chargers in just for the simple fact that they're promoting, that's something. It's just
Look at the future.
for the future. And I will come out and do like a plan that you're talking about. I think it's a big improvement.
Is it safe to be charging the car while they're working on it with the hood open?
I don't know if it's happening simultaneously, so I will put that caveat in there. I do not know the safety protocol, but I would suspect that whatever.
When it's possible, they'll charge it.
Exactly.
When safe, yeah.
Chances are they're probably charging post-work or pre-work, and, trading back about, okay, this one's charged, we can release to the customer,
Okay.
that type of thing would be my.
Yeah, when I charge my car, nothing deters me from going in it or opening the hood, opening the trunk.
You just don't want to touch anything that's,
It probably depends on the nature of the.
it's high voltage.
Right. It depends on the nature.
Not
of the-
where you mount it.
Yeah, that's not-
It's a safe mount mechanism.
Unless it's all shielded.
We have an indoor EV charging station for our facilities.
Sure.
There's no issue.
All right, other questions?
I'd like to make a motion to approve it with the waiver and the reduction of the EV charging stations as they're proposing.
Okay, any second?
Second.
Any public comment? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Yes.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none? Aye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
So Gina, we'll see you on August 4th.
All right, nothing for zoning hearing board, no conditional use applications. So next, we're going to the discussion and possible recommendation of the updated zoning ordinance for West Goshen Township.
Mr. Chairman, we do have Stacy Yoder from Gilmore and Associates here this evening. I'll give a presentation from her, just to provide a little bit of background information. For the Planning Commission, the zoning ordinance was authorized for public review by the Board of Supervisors at that meeting on June 16th. And this document represents a comprehensive update to the township's existing ordinance, and was worked on for a proposal that was issued, that was approved for Gilmore Associates on August 2nd, 2024. So it represents just over 2 years worth of work. During the RFP process, we noticed, we outlined numerous issues with the existing zoning ordinance, one of which was that the existing zoning ordinance contains 22 individual zoning districts and numerous overlay districts. So through this process, we attempted to reduce the number of zoning districts based on evaluating like uses among the existing districts, separating out different supplemental requirements in order to make it more user-friendly, providing visual representation where possible, and creating a chart of uses to navigate where different uses are permitted, as well as how they are permitted, and establishing requirements for such uses as accessory dwelling units, data centers, short-term rentals, and historic resource protection. There was a joint meeting of the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors on January 28th, 2026, and this process was worked through the Land Planning Committee, which had representation from both the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. So with that, I will bring up Ms. Yoder's presentation that she's put together. Stacy, just tell me when to switch slides.
Okay, so this is the same presentation that was shown at the joint Board Board of Supervisors and Planning Commission meeting with just some addendums that were included after that meeting. We received comments from the various members of boards and commissions, and so we went back and made some revisions, and some of them were pretty substantial, so we feel like it's worth discussing again. So just a quick project overview. It started in 2024. As Chris said, it's just to bring it into consistency with the comprehensive plan and address some of the issues here in the township, and to reorganize it to make it a more user-friendly document and eliminate some of those districts that seemed redundant. And as Chris said, again, we worked with the Land Planning Committee on that. We revised the definition section. Everything in red is what was done since the joint meeting. So everything in black, those are some of the definitions that were added. One of the comments we received is wanting to see some more illustrations that clarify what the terms being defined actually meant. So we went through, and there were several different terms that we updated with illustrations. And then two of the big items that were brought up, obviously data centers, which is like the big topic du jour right now. So we've defined a data center use as well as accessory uses for data centers. The other topic that was a big talking point was short-term rentals and how to regulate that. And so we've defined what short-term rentals are. And in the use regulation, we updated the use regulations to include regulations for the data centers. That's it itself. Sorry, Chris. So to take a step back, we created a use regulations chapter which clarifies and breaks them out into categories. So now, when you're looking for the requirement or the regulation for specific use, you can just go through and they're all laid out very clearly. If you're coming, if an applicant is looking to build a single-family detached home, they just go straight to residential uses. They find the code for a single-family detached, and then any additional regulations are right there for them to follow. Data centers were added. Data centers are an industrial use, so it would be under the G category. I don't know how the data center was very complicated. It's gone through a lot of back and forth. The township solicitor had a lot of input on the regulations that were put into the data center regulations.
We actually brought in some outside resources with PhDs in order to help us evaluate provisions related to noise and vibration. We brought those individuals in. We used resources from Montgomery County and Chester County Planning Commission. They put out joint guidance to municipalities, so we utilized those in helping to craft these regulations. We added a definition for like a private power, like private utility, private power utility, so certain regulations were added to that. So this really went through this section of it went through a robust review process.
And I think it's important to note also that data centers are only permitted in the industrial district, and they're only permitted by,
Conditional use.
Yes.
Just to add on what Stacey was saying about conditional use, and I don't think we really touched on this at the joint meeting. One thing that we took out of this was a lot of things that were previously in the zoning ordinance that were permitted by special exception, which goes in front of the zoning hearing board. We've now moved, and this is no disrespect to the job that the zoning hearing board does, we moved a lot of those into being conditional use to go through the planning commission and the board of supervisors for approval. So I believe the only thing there was only one or two things that still go through special exception. So, but generally speaking, we moved a lot of those items through the conditional use process.
I have a question. I went through both documents. I can't find nothing there for affordable housing. Where is it?
Affordable housing is not a land use. You can't it's not regulated by your zoning ordinance. Our effort to encourage affordable housing or attainable housing in the township was by creating a use for accessory dwelling units. And so now property owners in residential districts are permitted to have accessory dwelling unit, which would then allow them to have an additional income on their own property. They could, accessory dwelling units are smaller. There are limitations in terms of how large they can be. And so that was the good faith effort that we're moving forward with to encourage affordable, attainable type housing in the township.
Now, you also mentioned manufactured homes, which are trailers.
Yes.
Mobile homes.
Yeah.
But you don't mention a modular home.
Well, manufactured homes includes all of those.
So,
Technically speaking, a mobile home has wheels on it.
correct.
It's
So-
built on a metal frame, where a modular is built with walls and partially put together.
Correct, so that would be considered a single-family dwelling. Even though it's modularly built, so the codes are different for building code. Per zoning, it's still a single-family home with a foundation
But
or
shouldn't
on
there be a little
slab.
line in there that says that?
There's not, I don't think so. I mean, I think that it's just considered single-family dwellings.
Yeah.
Whereas a mobile home is specifically on a chassis, a modular manufactured home may be just on slab, similar to a home
A
that's
lot of
built.
them have full basements.
Or yeah, they could have foundations with full basements, so there would be no difference in the type of housing, because it would still be a single-family dwelling. It would just be coming to the building code portion, how that home is being constructed. If that,
And if you look under the use regulations for a single-family detached dwelling, it says if a dwelling is a mobile/manufactured home, and then there are regulations. So it does kind of call out that mobile or manufactured homes still need.
So John, if somebody had a lot and they wanted to build a modular home on it and bring in the pieces together and put it together, they would be permitted to do that in a residential zoning district that permits single-family detached dwelling units as a use by right. They would be allowed to do that. As long as they meet all the setback requirements and everything like that, they could do it. There's nothing, Stacy, correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing that would stop them from doing it.
So defining modular and having a section in here really wouldn't, from what you're saying, it really wouldn't do anything. Might be a little maybe redundant, or you could just, maybe you could say, define modular housing in case someone's looking for it, and just say, account for it by just saying, this counts as a single detached house with the same requirements.
There's really no reason to do that because it would automatically be a single-family detached.
Right.
Because it's a single-family detached dwelling unit.
But for user friendliness, why not add it? Just so it's there, and if someone is doing a modular home, they'll say, oh, okay, here's a modular home, we're okay. It just helps clarify things.
But it's not a specific use in the
Right,
definition.
right.
You're defining the uses.
Yes, but
It's not a separate, distinct use.
so
Correct,
it does
correct.
say, and as Stacy mentioned, it does say in the single-family detached dwelling, the term single-family detached dwelling shall be deemed to include a modular home, which is
Okay.
designed for transportation after fabrication in one or more segments. So the single-family dwelling unit does refer to modular homes being allowed and permitted in areas that permit
Okay.
single-family detached dwellings.
Okay, thanks.
And I think they're permitted in all the residential zoning districts. Yep.
I did want to note, to John's point about affordable and attainable housing, the current zoning ordinance only permits in a lot of areas that permit residential single-family detached. The new zoning ordinance permits multiple types of housing in multiple areas, whether it's single-family detached, attached, semi-detached, so your twins, your towns, your apartments, and your single families are now permitted in most residential districts. I think actually all residential districts, but if not most. So it'll also diversify the housing types
for the housing market.
Can I say something?
May I say something about that? Was that, I don't agree with that. Currently, we just have townhouses and attached, well, townhouses and any multifamily homes are only allowed in R4, C4, and in R3A is like Links and Spring Lane, at the end of Spring Lane, which is kind of like a fancy townhouse. Having all these types and all, I don't think that's good, because it needs to be separate. That's the way we have it now. And what could theoretically happen is someone could come into, I don't know, Glen Acres, Frost Point, Westtown Chase, buy 3 or 4 homes, take them down, and put up a block of townhouses. Within, that shouldn't be allowed. That's my, so that among other things, that's one thing that sort of stood out about this.
Yes, okay. Again, nothing, I don't believe there were any revisions to these articles. These were the district, well, since the joint meeting, there haven't been any revisions to these articles. These are your districts. So we went from, I believe, 20 some odd districts to 11.
And that includes the couple overlays.
Yep. The next slide is just your updated zoning map. That was
Yep. Yeah, our GIS technician, Emily Hollenbeck, put this together. So this is the new zoning map based on the updated districts. The one thing to note is that at the time that it was authorized for advertisement, the board did ask to change the parcels for community park and the Aqua Reservoir property to the municipal complex district, which essentially zones them for things like public utilities, property owned by the township, and things of that nature. So that district includes those 2 properties, plus the municipal complex here and the wastewater treatment plant.
Was there any thought, I was at that meeting, when they changed the reservoir to MCX, that's currently private property.
Correct.
Wouldn't it be wiser to wait until it's not private property, and if and when the township decides to take that, then do the zoning, otherwise it's a taking?
That's a policy decision for the board.
It's a taking, but it's a taking from Aqua owns it, right?
Yes. It's
So
private
what we're
property.
doing is by taking it, we're preventing Aqua if they chose not to give it to the township.
Well,
I want to clarify the word taking, because the township is not taking anything. So the township chose to change the zoning district for the reservoir, which is currently zoned R3.
Yes.
So the property is already existing non-conforming as it sits, because Aqua currently doesn't have housing there. So the property is currently zoned R3. The township, the Board of Supervisors had taken the position that should this come through, it's going to be township owned, therefore it should be township, under the township's MCX, Municipal Complex District. The property would still be non-conforming, whether it's R3 or MCX. We're not changing that portion of it. It's just, should the township take ownership of it at some point in time in the future, it's zoned MCX. The property owner, if the township chooses not to take it, and it sells to somebody else, they can petition the board to do a map amendment, change the zoning district to whatever district that they feel is best. The Board of Supervisors would hear that and do it that way. So it's not really, I want to clarify the word taking, but it's also, it's already an existing nonconformity. It's going to be an existing nonconformity if it remains R3 or if it goes to the MCX district.
I mean, it's kind of parsing words. I mean, it is reducing the value of that land that if
I wouldn't agree with that. Because as it stands right now, the only 3 potential owners as it stands are, based on my knowledge, are Westchester Borough and West Goshen Township. Those are the only three potential owners that I'm aware of.
Oh, it could be anybody else. I mean, someone,
Those are the only three potential owners that I'm aware of.
And Doug, at that time, whoever that owner may be is more than welcome to do a map amendment and request it to be whatever district they would want it, whether it's residential, commercial, industrial. They would have the right to do a map amendment to update that parcel.
But by changing it to MCX or whatever that is, it's protected that they have to come to the township for a change. So you protect that area from becoming something we don't want it to become.
right, but it's still private right now. You can't do that.
That's true, but that's sooner or later, that's going to change at some point. The purpose of changing it to MCX was to preclude the ability for some possible owner to develop lifestyle apartments, or building complexes in there, the apartments or something of that nature, townhouses. We didn't want that to happen.
Right, this is the best way to protect the water, protect all that stuff that's there.
But do that when we own it, not before.
Well,
Not yet,
we
not.
don't know that it's not definite that we're.
I don't agree. I think you have to wait till that bridge is crossed.
If you wait, it'll be too late.
It won't, no, it won't be. Once the township or whoever, let's say the township takes that property, okay, through, and you have to do the public process and all that, then that day, you can change the zoning.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
Doesn't happen that quickly.
Oh, okay, maybe a month or something. But,
We're trying to protect the township here and the residents that live with it.
So,
well,
So leaving that as R3, if Aqua sells it tomorrow to a developer and it's R3, the developer could walk in that day with plans to build single-family homes there, and the township wouldn't have the opportunity at that point to go back and change it.
Yeah,
So I think, not speaking for the Board of Supervisors, but the Board of Supervisors would like to potentially preclude that from happening without having a seat at the table. So that developer would have to come in, request a map amendment, and sit in front of the Board of Supervisors. Whereas if we didn't do it and it didn't happen, we may not have that opportunity then.
Shelby is 100% correct. It's called a vested right. So if you do that, if you have it zoned R3, just like what it currently is, and they walk in with a plan, they vest their right and they're subject to that provision, and the township can't do anything about it.
so providing the township does take that property, or have they figured on a budget to maintain it?
That's all premature.
and it's a creek, it's a wetlands anyway, so it's
That's all very premature.
I'm just looking way ahead.
Yeah.
That's all.
Now, that's very premature. We don't know what's going to happen. The borough has the right of first refusal under an agreement from 1998, and no one knows what's going to happen with that.
Okay. Well, assuming they refuse it, and West Goshen takes it.
Well, no, because we haven't crossed that bridge yet.
But do you have to notify Aqua? So let's say that zoning change goes through MCX. Do you have to then notify Aqua, and then they let them have a right to contest it?
I mean, the zoning ordinance is going to be publicly, the map and the zoning ordinance are going to be publicly advertised. They have the right,
It is.
Yeah, it is. It's available right now. It's on our website right now.
Okay. So, and also you want to make the community park MCX. Why not make Cooper Smith Park and Cloud Park and I forget his name. The one up by the Wawa. Bob Lambert's park. Why not make them MCX?
Those are policy decisions for the board. I mean, some of those will create potential spot zoning issues. Some of the smaller ones that exist within developments or surrounded by residential areas, we went over that previously, but that's a policy decision for the board.
In terms of your environmental, we added provisions for wetlands and lakes, ponds and water courses, and we also moved the nuisance performance standards to this section. clean that up a little bit so it's not quite such a large article.
This was, so what we did was, we had, before we brought Gilmore in, we had a meeting with the land planning committee and township staff just to kind of envision like, you know, what the big issues were. This section of supplemental regulations was right at the top of the list because it is extremely difficult to navigate. It's almost impossible to use. If you don't know the exact section that you're looking for, it's very difficult to use.
And some of the regulations that were under the supplemental section were worthy of their own article, like parking. Yes, exactly. So that's ultimately what became of them. They became their own articles. But since the joint meeting, this is where we added provisions for short-term rentals. And the direction from the township was to permit short-term rentals within residential dwellings. That's the statement, and they have to comply with regulations for rental properties.
And subsequent to that, actually Shelby and I met about it today. We're working on we're working on updating our rental provisions to incorporate inspection requirements and provisions for short-term rentals.
So as I said, we created a new article for off-street parking and loading. The sign ordinance, we just updated the temporary sign to be content neutral based on recent legislation and things like that that have been adopted. And again, it became its own article separate from the supplemental section.
I do have a comment on the sign. As I was reading this, 300 pages,
200.
we got double that, because it's two signs.
No, it's 204 total.
There's a lot to read. One thing I noticed on the zoning attachment, at the bottom, the LED signs, and it says at the additional requirements guidelines for freestanding sign apply. That's a change every 6 to 8 hours. I think that should be every 6 to 8 seconds.
Is that just
I
correct?
would agree. I would agree. You're right.
I've been through this with another township, and it's,
We made many revisions to the table. I think we left it because we didn't change anything for the permanent signs. So that table is what you currently have, but I will make note of that. And we'll say that that was a discrepancy, and I will change that 6 to 8 seconds. As long as the township is on board with that too.
before somebody comes back, I put a sign up. If somebody complains,
Yes.
and then, yeah, I'm going through this with West Township, right?
No. That is legitimate. The remaining articles, no change, no change, no change. We did receive the revised historic resource protection standards article, which we incorporated and added into this. And then again, overall, we had some feedback from planning commission members, from board members. We sat with staff, we went through them all and kind of just were like, okay, yes, we're going to make these changes. So that's it. That includes also the use regulation table. There was a lot of discussion on the use regulation table, like what uses are permitted in which districts. There were a lot of changes to that. So we updated the use regulation table to reflect those opinions as well. And then just the remainder of the process, you know, it's currently out there for public comment. It's been sent to your county for review. You guys are reviewing it this evening. And next it would be time for the public hearing with the board of supervisors to hopefully adopt.
Other questions, comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair, a question. I noticed that public sewer, public water, and on-site septic are not defined. in your definitions, whereas in our current code it is.
Well, if it's not defined, then it's probably not used anywhere in the zoning.
It's used.
We have to look into that because basically we removed the definitions or the terms that are not actually terms that are used throughout the ordinance. Additionally, those aren't things that are generally prohibited by zoning. That's usually regulated by the subdivision plan development ordinance.
Well, it's just in the existing code and not a notice it's missing on this.
Other questions, comments? Any public comment?
I have one more question, Mr. Chair. The medical marijuana dispensaries, are we allowed to regulate the type of signage and require it that it be discreet?
No.
Why?
You can't regulate any content, things different, signs like that.
Why?
State doesn't allow it.
Oh, jeez. I don't agree.
It would be considered discriminatory. You can't regulate a use differently from.
Okay, because on the one hand, it says we're supposed to uphold the morals of the township, and I know the code says it has to be 1,000 feet from schools, et cetera, but still.
That follows the state standards. And it is a legal lawful use that we have to provide for.
All right, any other questions?
One more, please. The term sustainability, should that be defined more clearly in the section under the college PUC? It talks about sustainability. I think that term should be defined.
Any other?
So to go back to the definition of public water and public water, public sewer, things of that nature. So the definition for public utility includes wastewater collection and the distributing or furnishing of water to or for public consumption. So those are contained within the definition of public utility.
Any other? Otherwise, I'll make a motion that we recommend adoption. I guess that's what our motion would be, right? Recommend to the supervisors adopting the updated zoning ordinance. Is there a second? Second. Any other comments? Public comment?
Who seconded?
Carrie. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No reason, and I'll read my statement here, please, Mr. Chair. I don't agree with allowing all housing types in all the R districts. I think that would be detrimental to the township, and it should remain as we have it. I still don't agree with the rezoning of the reservoir. It should just wait until the township comes into ownership of that. I think community park should remain R3. And that's my reasoning.
Okay. All right, so 8-1, recommending it to.
Voted no.
Oh, I'm sorry.
2 no's.
2 no's. John is no. All right, opening the floor up for any other public comment? Hearing none. Motion to adjourn?
Can I make one more comment? How does the board feel about having one of the staff do our secretarial note taking, like we used to years ago?
They
We have a secretary for that purpose.
Right, but if it should become burdensome and in any way, and it can be, I understand that. We used to have Diane Clayton here. She did an outstanding job. She took our notes. And we didn't have to worry about it. I mean, this was.
Why are we worrying about it now? What's the problem?
Well, I believe that the notes should be a little more detailed. And if it, and it's a lot of work.
Well, I think they're very adequate.
Okay. Just a suggestion, that's all.
Okay.
Let's see. For some of these, and you can clarify this for me, Chris, for some of these housekeeping details for the planning committee, because we do have people that come to watch, and I don't know that they would be burdened so much by that, the housekeeping or the mechanisms of the planning commission or any commission. Is there a way to take care of some of these things or listen to some of these things outside of that without it being considered like clandestine?
There really shouldn't be any deliberation on anything that's going to be coming before the planning commission for a vote outside of these publicly advertised meetings.
No, I mean like the housekeeping as far as like this minute taking and what's defined as correct note taking and, you know, memorialization
Like we can,
and recording.
I guess the question would be, can we move, instead of having the approval of the minutes as number 3, can we move that towards the bottom?
Oh, yeah.
Get right into the initial and then the saldo and zoning first to get them moving on.
Oh, yeah,
I just think sometimes in some of these deliberations, I think it's unfair for people who are coming and wanting to get to the content that
Yeah, to sit
they want
through,
to look at.
to sit through our stuff, yeah.
I was just going off the structure that I inherited. So if you guys want me to restructure and put those near the end, I'm happy to do that.
And the same thing, do we need 2 public comment sections?
I was going off of the structure that I had, so if you guys want, you do not. So you tell me, you want the minutes moved at the end, we have the public comment out front, just like the board of supervisors. I mean, we can absolutely, you guys can absolutely do that.
I would recommend that we move the minutes to the bottom, we get rid of the number 9 open, go right into the, after the pledge of allegiance.
Unless maybe someone from the public wants to hear the minutes stuff.
Well, yeah, they're always welcome to stay.
They can stay.
They can stay and
But I
hear
just
that.
think people come and they're paying their engineers to
There's
deal
the
with
lawyers,
them.
yeah. Oh, yeah, I
And it's
see.
like, we're keeping them here as we're debating
Our
these
stuff,
things
our stuff.
month after month after month.
Well,
Yeah, no, that makes sense if everyone's good with that. Okay. Okay, all right, meeting
Just
adjourned.
for August.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Wait, was there a motion and a second?
Otherwise, all in favor? Okay, all in favor?
Aye to adjourn.
So we're going to.